Good day, everyone, and welcome to our Smart Webinar series. In today's webinar, Web Form Design and Strategy for Capturing Senior Living Leads, a case study, or as I like to say, lost in space, where are my web leads going? The webinar presentation will be 20 minutes, followed by a quick Q&A session. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenter by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation, and we'll collect these and address them during the Q&A at the end. Now I would like to introduce our presenter, Doug DeMaio. As a storyteller, writer, musician, and videographer, Doug DeMaio approaches digital marketing with a creative eye for engaging prospects. Doug's experience with inbound marketing extends to numerous clients in healthcare and education industries. This experience has helped him think creatively about the marketing and sales process in senior living. And beyond working directly with clients in these spaces, Doug also reads and writes extensively about marketing topics. He hosts a regular blog focused on content marketing and is a marketing thought leader with LinkedIn. Follow him at Doug-DeMaio. And so now, without further ado, let's get started.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. Let's get right to the nitty-gritty of it. We looked at over 100 senior living community websites, and every single one of them had room for improvement when it came to their web forms. Strategy, optimization, design, follow-up, something. So we know the visitors filling out these forms are often dealing with difficult circumstances, and they need information, reassurance, and answers, and we need to make that easy for them. So let's dig into what we found most often and how to address the issues if you see them on your own site. So our goals here are to develop efficient, optimized web forms, which results in an increase in submissions and leads, and to improve the overall experience and response when someone does submit your form, helping to build a trusting relationship with that prospect. So your community may be exceptional, but an anonymous website visitor may never make that discovery if your form asks for too much information, creates uncertainty about what will happen next, or your response is just too slow or too generic. Especially for senior living communities, being transparent, timely, and thorough with your follow-up efforts is essential for building that trust. It's not always easy to submit that form, so we need to be thoughtful with how we respond. Your web form should make it clear to the prospect that they're heading in the right direction for what they want to accomplish. Only 3% of your target audience is actively buying at any given time. Providing different avenues for prospects to engage and educate themselves builds trust and keeps you top of mind for when that buying decision does arrive. So your form and content strategy should include a variety of resources and touch points so that your prospect can choose their own path. And your form design should make it clear what each of those resources and touch points are and what they can expect if they fill out a given form. Overall, we uncovered a number of missed opportunities throughout our research. Let's take a look at what we saw across the 100 communities we analyzed. One of the biggest issues we saw, overall conversion rate optimization. For top of funnel forms like get more information or download a brochure, 59 out of 100 communities required a phone number to submit the form. What's worse, only 22 of those 59 communities even attempted to contact us via phone anyway. So they didn't even use the information they asked for. So we've seen a number of studies and our own firsthand accounts of why this hurts conversion rates. People just don't like to give out their phone number. In one case, we saw submission rates drop from 71.3% to 51.5% when a community started requiring phone numbers on their downloaded brochure form, with the overall submissions dropping by over 30%. And then they had complaints from the sales team about how many fake phone numbers they were getting when those forms were being submitted. So really not helpful overall. Perhaps even more surprisingly, in today's environment of digital-first marketing, only 34 of the 100 communities analyzed sent an automated follow-up email of any kind. So the vast majority, 66 out of 100 communities, seemingly have no system in place to nurture prospective leads, to gather information from them, to share resources with them, unless a community staff member takes in that lead information and personally writes up and sends out an email. And of those 34 communities who sent out a follow-up email, only 21 of them included any sort of conversion element, a CTA, a resource to download, some sort of click-through. So the other 13 were just generic, thank you for contacting us, someone will be in touch with you shortly type emails. So here's a stat from one of the studies I just referenced. In this study, when a phone number was required, 39% of prospects were abandoning the forms before submitting them. When that requirement was lifted, only 4% of prospects were abandoning the forms. Another issue we saw was timely feedback in general. While an automated email sequence is great to have, especially for off hours and things, it's pertinent to have timely outreach in one way or another. 41 of the communities we analyzed did get back to us in a timely fashion with a personal email from a staff member, but that still left 43 communities that didn't get back to us for over a week, either through an automated email, a personalized email, or a phone call. So 43 out of 100 communities left us hanging for 7 days plus, with a number of communities just not ever getting back to us, but I think that's a different issue. The quality and the depth of the feedback that we received also varied. So 29 of the communities who followed up with an email also included a brochure or an info sheet about the community. Strangely, 12 communities neglected to send a brochure even when one was specifically requested through the form. So definitely something disconnected in that follow-up. So we get it. This stuff can be tricky. There is a lot to take into consideration, a lot of different things to be optimized, but these are some basics that you can keep in mind, kind of from the prospect side of things, before we take a look at our more comprehensive checklist, to try to anchor yourself while you're looking at your forms. So just generally speaking, the more information you require on your form, the lower the conversion rate is going to be. So people guard their contact information and their time and their privacy really tightly. So we have to make it clear to the prospect what's going to happen once the form is submitted. Will they get an email with more information? When can they expect that email? What other next steps should they be expecting, or what else should they be preparing for? We should be taking advantage of every response to communicate value. So use things like thank you pages and automated emails to immediately convey your value and provide a place to further convert. So quick aside here, one of the things that we noticed was consistently lacking on almost every community website: creative, valuable, and conversion optimized thank you pages. So most sites just throw up that generic thank you for submitting, and or someone will be in contact with you shortly, little thank you message after you submit the form. So it might be on its own page. It might just be, on the page where you submitted the form. This is great real estate to engage and further convert a prospect that is already motivated. So it's an easy win to put a link there, to put another resource there, to keep moving them down your funnel, right on that page. So next up, follow up quickly, personally, and more than once. Offer relevant resources, offer help, try to get them down to that next level of trust and to that next stage in their journey. Strategically move your visitors through their prospect journey and down your funnel. So provide relevant contextual calls to action and provide them the resources that they need. Show your prospects that you care about their overall online experience. So make this easy for them. Don't leave them hanging. Don't leave them confused or wondering what's going to happen next. This is often your first chance to contact this lead after they fill out one of your forms. It's your first chance to delight them and to stand out from the competition. They're likely filling out similar forms on a number of community websites trying to get the information they need to make a next step. This is your chance to stand out from that competition and build trust. If you keep those things in mind, kind of from the prospect perspective, as you're building out and testing your forms and the content and the experiences that your forms link to, then you'll be in good shape overall. So to kind of wrap up, here's our checklist that you can kind of take a look a little bit deeper at each of your forms and see if you're kind of hitting on all these points. Here's part 1. So hopefully you're answering yes to many of these questions. But if you take an honest assessment, there are probably a few that can be improved upon. And here's part 2. I won't talk through each of these specifically, but there are a couple that I want to point out. So we talked a lot about being thorough and letting your lead know what to expect when they submit the form and afterwards. But along with that, it's important to make sure that you're actually delivering on those promises. So you should be testing and mystery shopping, occasionally filling out these forms secretively to better understand the prospect experience and to make sure that it's not falling down anywhere. And when you do that and you eventually have to make changes to your forms or pages, changing what information is required, changing the copy on the page so that you better understand the form, etc., document those changes carefully and track the results after those changes were made. So it could be that you are going to want to roll back certain changes because they didn't have the effect you wanted, or it could be that you want to implement these changes more widely across your other related pages, and you're going to want to know exactly what the change was and exactly what the results from that change were. So everybody grab a screenshot of this one. Move my face out of the way. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up. We have plenty of resources. We're going to stick around and answer some questions. I hope it was helpful. Hopefully that checklist will help guide you in your revamp of your website and your forms. And just remember, stop asking for those phone numbers so early. You don't need them yet. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Doug. That was very insightful, very good. And, we've told people just, over the course of the years that, it's like 87 to 90% of folks start their search online. And so, and a lot of times it's after hours, so they might not pick up the phone, but if they're looking for information and they try to get it through one of your forms and can't get it easily, they're going to move on. So always keep that in mind. All right, Doug, thank you. We've got some questions for you. Right. We definitely want to get phone numbers from our leads. What did we tell you? How did we do that? How do we do that without ruining our conversion rates? Great question.
Yeah, so that's one that always comes up. You want your sales team to be able to contact these folks, via phone. So there's a couple of ways that you can kind of do that a little bit more effectively. Progressive or queued fields is a way to do that, where if you already have certain information from someone, if you already have their email address and their name from a different form, from a different engagement with them, you can then kind of automatically have that phone number field pop up at that point. So there's kind of ways to engage with these leads who already see your value and might need to connect with you again, to then ask for that phone number a little bit further down the road. And the other thing that I would say about that is make sure that all of that information is auto-populating as much of that information as possible. So if it is the second time that lead's converting on your website, they'll go to that form and their name and their email address and everything else will already be filled in for them, and then phone number will be the only thing they have to add. So that usually helps with keeping the conversion rates high, just making it as easy as possible, as few keystrokes, and really only asking for it from people who you've already had some connection with in the first place.
Great. So Doug, but basically what you're saying is wait till you get that more of a trust level with them before you ask, right?
Yeah, like you want that to be on a second or third connection with them. Generally, just avoid asking for that phone number on a first touch or a very top of funnel type ask.
Great, thanks. Okay, next question is, what do you mean by your form strategy having lots of different touch points?
Okay, yeah, so we kind of talked about making sure that there are different entry points, so that your leads that are in different stages have something to engage with. So basically, the form strategy is a component of your overall content strategy, which is part of your whole lead generation strategy. So you want to just make sure that you have different entry points for people at different stages or people who are just seeking different information. You don't want to have just a brochure or just a tour. You want to have relevant information about pricing, about floor plans, about amenities, and you want to have some of those in little bite-sized pieces. Some of them might be video, some of them might be in PDF format or what have you. So you just want to have those be clear, what you're going to get if you fill out that form, and you want to have a lot of these so that you can target them at people who are in different stages of their search or just have different information needs.
Great. So should you just have like a form on one page, or should it be throughout the website?
You're going to want to have them throughout the website, but for a specific, for one specific asset, you would still probably want to have multiple places where that form exists, or at least a button or a call to action that brings you from a relevant page or a relevant blog post over to a downloadable resource or a CTA to schedule a call, schedule a tour, that sort of thing. But yeah, you want to make sure that you have them kind of in all of those places where people are gathering information. You want to make sure you have that somewhere for them to convert through.
Mm-hmm. Great. Looks like we have one more question that just came in. What's a good form submission rate to shoot for? Great question.
Yeah, really good. And obviously there's a lot, that is going to impact this, depending on kind of where your traffic's coming from. But for a form that kind of lives on a dedicated landing page, so people are going to that page ostensibly to get that resource or fill out that form, you want to see 20% or more would be ideal. And some people look at that and think we're still missing out on 80% of the potential leads, and you don't want to think about it that way, because with a lot of these forms, people are navigating to the form, navigating to that page, leaving and bouncing around the website, maybe coming back the next day, viewing that page a couple of times and then submitting it. So if you're getting 20% of the overall traffic submitting that form, you're getting a pretty big percentage of the overall, individual people or families. So yeah, anything, in the 20% range is going to be, is going to convert well for you.
Terrific. Well, great. I think that's it for questions, and we're running out of time. So thank you, Doug. I appreciate your great information, and we'll be sending out links to download the case study and to get a recording of today's webinar. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.